That is loud. How are you guys doing today? If you are new to the podcast or to the live, we do answer questions towards the end, sometimes throughout, depending on the topic and all of those things. So do post those in the chat. I would love to chat with you. Good morning, Abel, Timothy, Cinch. Okay. So today's topic is a little off marketing because we beat marketing into you guys. We believe in it, obviously. We think it's an important part of your business, but it's not the only pillar that will help you be successful. On marketing, how are things going? If anybody has any wins, let me know or like new clients. Are things improving? Did you have any breakthroughs on your marketing this week? Let us know in the chat or in the comments if you're on Facebook, things like that. But I was talking to Megan and kind of thinking just about going into the fall, and I think there's like 3 problems as I talk to bookkeepers one-on-one that every bookkeeper kind of has to figure out for themselves as they grow their bookkeeping business. So I titled this 3 problems every bookkeeper has to solve. At some point in your business, whether it's now or 3 years from now, you will have to solve these. The first one we're going to talk about is who's doing the work. Some of you get started in bookkeeping and you're like, and this is especially true of females. So just from what I've seen, they're like, I want to do the work. It's a moment to check out on my computer. It's a moment to just kind of zone out and do data entry. And, I love doing the work is what we hear. Who has said or falls into that camp of, I love doing the work? And guys, I love doing the work. Let's be real. So, there's something kind of calming about doing some of it. But ultimately, you're going to have to figure out who's doing the work. Some of you instantly know that you're starting a business and you will not be doing the day-to-day work. You will not be coding the transactions. You will be finding the clients. You will be paying someone, things like that. That's really good to know as you go. And I'm going to make sure my phone keeps buzzing or like dinging. So get that off. You can absolutely do this as a solo side gig and bring in still 30 to 60,000, if not more, doing this as like a part-time thing where you do most of all the work. And maybe just a project here and there that you hire out, if that. We did an interview with one of our students here who does 6 figures, and she also works. So you can set this up however you want. It's just something you need to decide. What does this look like for you? I know when I started in the first year, I had a cleanup come to me. And I think I had a newborn or relatively like 202 type of situation. And I knew that I did not have time to do this cleanup, but I was able to take the cleanup, and I could have done it if needed. But I was able to, hey, I'm working on this project. Can you work on this cleanup, and hire someone to do the cleanup for me? And for me, that was just an important reminder of why I started the business. But you can delegate without losing control. So one of the oppositions I get sometimes when it's, you don't have to do all of the work, it's all of these doubts of, well, can someone do it as good as me? Or um, how do you delegate it? Like, how do you know that it's going to get done? How do you know that I'm not going to get ghosted by the bookkeeper? I don't know how many times I'm on a coaching call where someone has tried to hire like another bookkeeper in a Facebook group, and they're doing like a percentage based or something like that. And there's no clear like expectations on either side of when the work is going to get done, what the deliverable is for you and the contractor, not even talking about the client, right? Those can be really frustrating because you can get 3 months in, you've been paying this person, and now you still have to do 3 months of work. Okay, so it's really important to think these through. Most of you do not have the 3 months of client income to like just hand to someone else. So do think that through, and I would love to answer any questions as you have them as we keep talking today. If you're wondering, should you subcontract, should you hire an employee? If you're struggling to, especially if you've hired and you're like, it did not go well, I really encourage hiring for a couple of hours a week by, just gonna make sure this isn't like someone needing me. Anytime a Facebook notification goes off when I'm live, I'm like, someone telling me there's an issue on Facebook. But you can practice delegating in like 2-hour increments. Like, hey, I'm going to hire you for 2 hours a week. This is your task. And you can practice like, how are you going to pay them? How is my communication? How am I going to communicate with them? Am I going to use something like Slack? Or I use Google Chat, for instance. And then we use keeper.app. Okay, so you can delegate control. You can set yourself up to do all of the work, and you can do it efficiently. You can also set it up so that you don't have to be the one doing all of the work and still do really well for yourself. If you have like, hey, how could I make this work for your like specific situation? Feel free to reach out to us, and we can kind of brainstorm like, hey, based on your goals, this is what that would look like. Yeah, Keeper has, so Keeper, if you go to their website, has a bazillion tutorials and trainings. Let me get that page for you. There's also a YouTube channel, and I'm going to drop that in the link. That is also really helpful. They do, Keeper has a lot of trainings and resources, so many. And we can also help if you're in any of our communities and you have a question. They also have a Facebook group too. And then if you get stuck beyond, like after that, they have a chat support too, or email support. Yeah, if you go to their website, there is a resources tab where they have blogs and webinars and trainings and all of those things. Okay, there you go. So for some of you, using something like Keeper will be your first like delegation tool, meaning you don't even have to hire someone to feel like you're delegating, simply because as you ask questions and put them in the portal is the one reminding the client that you have questions, right? So sometimes automations are your first like, okay, I'm getting really busy with the work. How do I get some of my time back? Automations. Can we set up rules so you're not having to go look, where did I I, as my firm, copy the tax returns as far as like how I name stuff, where I code stuff, things like that. I don't make it fancy. If the client has already made it what they want to see, and maybe they have some specific names that we don't want to change, um, that's going to, be something we have to think about as we're doing the client. But for most of our clients, like all platforms, like all subscription platforms, go to XYZ spot, and we call it a specific thing. So like we don't have to think about it. However, there are some clients that use like office expenses, office supplies, subscriptions. They use all three for different reasons because numerous situations. You can set up rules. You don't have to auto add them, but you could still set up the rules so that you're not having to think about where did I code this last time. Some of you guys are using Write Tool. It will prompt you. QuickBooks will also like show you the historical, like how it was historically categorized if you click the button. But sometimes just go ahead and make the rule to tell yourself where you code it in that client's books. And that will save you time as well. And those are things you can do as you work. So like give yourself 6 months. Like as I'm doing the client, for 6 months, I do recommend documenting what you do that first time you do the client's books. I remember when I was first just getting started, I didn't have a lot of clients, and I could basically do all of the work in one weekend a month, right? Well, then the next month would come around and I'd be like, how did I do this journal entry that this client needed? Document it, record yourself doing it, give yourself a process procedure, save it so that you remember how you did it. Like, give yourself some compassion there. Okay, so how do you take time off? I think someone asked me recently, like, oh yeah, it was in Messenger. How do you possibly take time off? Like, if you're doing all the work and all of those things, like, how do you possibly take time off? And do you tell your clients that you're taking time off? Like, what's the expectation there? Guys, that is totally up to you. I love the book Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. If you haven't read it, or you could check out like a keynote from him on YouTube. But Clockwork gets you out of the business if that's what you're looking for, or like can help show you how to take a vacation. So the idea, the premise behind his book Clockwork is really to remove yourself entirely. He also says in there that he enjoys the businesses he starts and runs, so he doesn't remove himself entirely. But as you follow his processes, you'll take a vacation at the end of, so you'll implement it for a quarter. You'll take a 1 week vacation. You'll implement it for a second quarter. You'll take a 2 week vacation. Then third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, you'll take a 3 week vacation, and then a 4 week vacation at the end of that. So a good thing to start now too, if you're thinking like, hey, how am I going to take some time off around Christmas? There's time, and you can, and it's really easy to start it kind of now with taking a vacation around November or December, because no one's working that last week of December. Let's see what the calendar says. So the 31st is a Wednesday. So some of you guys might have payroll. Like I try to pay attention to S Corp payrolls that week. But you could pretty much take that week off. You could test it. You could take the week off before Christmas, but you could also take the whole week off of Christmas, or that week, the 21st through the 27th. Or you can do the 5th through the 9th, where you take off that first week back of a month. What I like about starting to test it in December, if you were to do it, is like the 21st through the 27th, that week on the calendar is everyone's busy, right? Very few fires are going to come up if they come up at all. You could still have whoever your team is working like normal, except they're going to take some holiday time as well. But you can still have them working as normal. Pretty low hanging week, or you can take an additional time off. But the goal of that week is to see what breaks. So you didn't respond. You had no clue what was going on. They had to figure it out themselves. They had to communicate with the client what broke. And then when you come back, you fix what broke so that next time there's better communication and things like that. Go ahead and start planning too. So what you'll need to do, what you'll need to pay attention to in December, if anyone's planning on starting like set yourself up for success. So you're going to start in October, November, communicating with clients what your expectation is around year end. Then in November, you're going to start reviewing the books for year end. What do you need? What are you still missing? What do we need to really get from the client? Like really, really, we haven't reconciled this loan all year type of thing. Now it's not going to be the final statement, but it'd be really nice to start getting transactions in and making progress towards that end, or at least knowing like what's coming down the pipe of client fires to put out. Then in December, we're going to start sending out, if you do 1099s, that's when we're going to start educating. Actually, I wouldn't start educating in December. I would start educating in October, if not now, if you haven't been. Who needs a 1099? All of those things. There's some changes with that, but we're going to start thinking about what are we going to be doing as soon as we get back. And then you're going to be looking at your S Corps. So anyone who is an S Corp needs to make sure their final payroll is run before December 31st. And the reason I say that is a lot of S Corps will take distributions throughout the year. So this is like your business that has like the owner is the employee, right? Like they're doing it all. They might run their like one annual payroll. And so that needs to be run. And we need to like know the amounts. We need to make sure that they're set up, like no surprises. And then are we running that before we leave? Or are we going to run it the 30th or whatever, like so that the money comes out? Like have a plan. Be talking to your S Corp people. Do you have a team covering that, or is the owner running their own payroll? Just some things to think about if you're planning on saying, hey, I'm gonna peace out the 21st through the 3rd. Those are some of the things you want to be thinking about. Okay. Fun little digression there. Okay, so do you have to tell the clients? I don't, but I also have a team now, so they don't typically know if I'm working or not, unless like I cannot respond. If I cannot respond to a single thing, like if it's one of those vacations where I'm going to be completely MIA, I don't tell them. I can use Keeper. So keeper.app has an announcement feature. I can put it there, and then I can put an out of office. I try not to do that for every little vacation though, or like, I typically take Fridays off. I don't put an announcement or an out of office, because if they email me on Friday, I'm not going to respond till Monday. It's not going overtime, like as far as client communication goes. I check email on Thursday, so they're not going that long without communication. So stuff like that, I don't send announcements for. I don't put out of office reminders on. If I'm taking like a holiday weekend off, I don't do out of office. I'll block off my calendar, but I don't do out of office emails for like Labor Day, things like that. The assumption is it's a federal holiday or whatever. I have been known to take calls on like Memorial Day or something like that, a day that maybe we're celebrating, but I might not be taking off. I might be reserving that like time for a couple weeks ahead when there's a vacation or summer break or something. Okay. If you're going to take like a 2-week vacation, you're going out of the country type of thing, and you don't have your computer, stuff like that, I would communicate with the clients. Like if you don't have anyone else covering, so you're solo, you're doing it all yourself, I would communicate in those instances. Okay, the third thing you will have to problem solve at some point is client and scope creep management. And this can sometimes be really deceptive. You can get a client who just feels like they so need you. They need you to solve their problems. And at first you're like, I have the time. They'll be fine. No big deal. They just need a phone call. But the reality is you didn't include it in your engagement letter. You're not charging them for it. And you're not communicating well with it early on. And so years go by and you get busier, you have more clients, and you still have this like problem client where they expect some things from you that you were actually never engaged to do. And so that client, if you look at like your billable hours and things like that, isn't paying you very much. Those can be hard clients to keep and reset boundaries, but it is possible. I have a client who kind of that happened to me where like, especially if you take it, if you're coming from like a 9 to 5 accounting firm or some sort of like employee mindset, especially if you're a people pleaser and you're like, you've got this employee mindset, you're always, you're kind of always on check to perform to a certain level. Well, yes, I got to learn from that. You can get to a point where like everything's your fault. And so like I had a client who, actually went out of the country and things like that. And I was waiting for payment. Well, he never paid me. So we stopped doing the work. We were waiting for that payment. He was caught up, but we were waiting for the payment going forward. We were also waiting for like one statement or something. I think this was before Keeper. And on top of that, I was communicating with him via Upwork. So he didn't see the messages. He wasn't doing the payment there. And so we paused. So we kind of got 3 months behind, and he felt like we were behind, but we weren't behind because he hadn't paid us to do those months and the way Upwork worked at that point. So he was on the Upwork platform. It was milestones. So every milestone he would put money in escrow. We would do the work. We would get paid upon delivering the financials. So from there, like I felt the need to make up for that like time and his frustration about being 3 months behind. It wasn't my fault at all, but we started doing like a extra call, and I did those calls for like 2 years, and then I was like, dude, you're like, we really have to change this. Like this is not working. Like some life situations had changed, and I was like, this is not working anymore. Absolutely 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9. You work as an accountant. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes that's a nice way to do it because it makes the work easier. Like it's just more of or different, like, but it just makes it easier to like keep going. Anytime I hear 9 to 5 though and 5 to 9, I'm like, do eat dinner. But yeah, I get it. Okay. What else with client and scope creep? Scope creep can happen innocently. Hey, I'm having trouble with this invoice, or I'm having issues with getting this payment to go through and things like that. Write down what you will allow. So like Often with scope creep, you guys are like, well, transactions, like things like that. So if I do buckets of 0 to 100 transactions or 0 to 75 or whatever those buckets are, I don't move them up to the next bucket, if they're like constantly just 10 transactions over, right? So they grew a little bit, they added some expenses, they made some things more efficient with AI. So now they have a few more subscriptions or something. So now they're doing 85 transactions instead of 75. If 75 is my cutoff for the tier that they're on, I'm not moving them up a tier because of those 10 transactions. Okay. But if they cross 100, maybe I am, right? Like, so I'm giving you an example so you can go right down. Like, that's not my true standard, but like, what is that for you? At what point do you increase their package tier? Because you're going to get more efficient as you go. So you might not notice in the time outlay that their work has increased, but you might know it at physically doing the work. Same with like bank accounts. When do you charge them for a bank account? Is it just because they have the bank account? Does it have to have over 5 transactions in it? So think about like the savings accounts that just there's one transfer a month in. Do you charge them for that? Because and the reason you need to think these through is when you're giving the client the quote and they see, oh, well, you're saying I have 5 to 7 bank accounts, but remember I told you that savings account I barely use. I really only have 4. You need to be able to defend, like not defend, but like defend internally to yourself, why you're quoting the way you're quoting and be consistent. If not, you're going to be on that call and you're going to be like, oh, well, and then you're going to be frustrated at yourself or with the work later. So just have integrity for yourself. What are those lines? How are you going to quote? What are you going to respond to? So like, I think there's a good and kind of frustrating way to communicate with clients. Like, are we such a stickler on the portal that they can never send us an email? And I say that partially because like keeper.app, doesn't really have, like, it does have a mobile app to communicate. But like as far as me doing the work in Keeper as the accountant, like being able to pull something up, it's kind of frustrating. So like there's not really a mobile app for our side of it. So with that said, like I am a little lenient on like getting an email from a client. But you need to know like where your threshold is. Okay. What else? I think those were the 3 points that I had. I was trying to see if there was anything else we talked about. Yeah, because with scope creep and client creep and all of those things, like not there, you may go through a season where everything feels like an emergency because like, hey, it's Friday. Sherry says she takes Fridays off, so I'm going to start trying to take Fridays off. Well, now you're at the park or the zoo getting a phone call from a client, feeling like you have to answer because you're not fully committed to Fridays off. You're like, oh, but this is new and the client needs to talk to me. Could you call them when you like, could you text them? Could you email them? Hey, I saw I missed a call from you. I'm out of the office running errand. Like, you don't even have to say that. Like, you could just email them back and say, hey, I'm, away from my phone right now. If you need anything, if not, I'm happy to give you a call on Monday. Right. So they can email you the question, or you can give them a call back on Monday. If you feel like you really have to respond. Sometimes let it go to voicemail, check the voicemail. If they even left a voicemail, if they didn't leave a voicemail, clearly not important. Like, I don't leave voicemails. If I really need you, I will email you or call you back. Unless it's a client, I will leave a voicemail. Like, but if it's like me, like asking for something for myself, I probably am not going to leave a voicemail. Unless I like need something from you. And if I need something from you, I'm going to leave a voicemail because you might see the voicemail and be able to just solve it, send me an email, or you're going to just call me back. Like there's like two types of people on that front. But a voicemail is a message to communicate information. And so we want to I'll invite the voicemail, but don't feel like you have to answer if you're like, hey, I'm going to take Friday afternoons off and I'm going to leave after 2 or something. Leave, check out. And this is where like being an employee, if you've recently been an employee and you're leaving that workforce to be self-employed or however that like goes, think about like, I'm sitting at my desk in corporate, I have a desk phone. That desk phone is tied to my desk. Now there's some exceptions, like if you're upper management, you might have like like an actual work cell phone or whatever, or if you're out in the field. I'm talking, think about like desk job, there's a desk phone. And so when I leave the office at 5 p.m. or 3 p.m. on Friday, no one's contacting me or email until Monday morning at 8. I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to know it exists until I get back to work at 8 a.m. on Monday, 9 a.m. or whatever. You can implement standards like that. Just because you're working on your phone doesn't mean you have to like answer your phone on Saturday. I will, with that caveat, if you're growing your business, sometimes answering the phone on Saturday is an okay thing. Just quickly like pay attention to how much time you're growing the business and if those calls actually paid off, right? A lot of times we make compromises hoping to get a client, and that compromise didn't do us any good. Like we didn't get the client because we showed up on Saturday. I did get some project work though, because I showed up. So I'm not talking about like just spam calls. I'm talking about like you get a message, hey, are you available like today for a phone call? And I'm not assuming you're like Cameron, I don't know if you have like a separate work line or not. At some point you can get a lot of spam calls. Oh, and Cameron, I think you did like the instant you start trying to build credit for your business or you put yourself on like BBB or something like that, you're going to start getting a lot of spam calls. Yeah, Ring Central will do that too. I don't know why, but sometimes I cringe when you guys tell me you work 7 days a week. Have a plan to stop that. You will go crazy or your family will go crazy. Gotcha. You're determined though too. You've got like a really good plan. Okay. Let me finish that thought. The reason sometimes I'm like cringe is like I can do Saturdays, but I do think at some point your body does need a break. And so taking at least one day to give yourself a break is a good idea. 2, sometimes I feel like we work more to make up for where we haven't implemented the right efficiencies into our business, like to mitigate the work. Or to like make marketing more efficient. So like it can feel like we have to work 7 days a week to market the business, which means we don't really have like a marketing system that we've tapped into. Like it's all dependent on us. And that is going to lead to burnout very quickly. Now there is a season in which we have to figure it out. We have to do, like, we have to ask questions. We have to work until our brain goes, oh, that's what I'm looking to do. So I get that season. I don't want to see you burn out either. I don't want to see any of you burn out. Especially if it's like not getting, like, fully getting you where you need to go. And that's why I think when Megan talks about goals and mindset and really understanding the why, we can build the business around that. Like, think about doctors. I saw a short video yesterday of a doctor, I think on Facebook. He's Dr. Tommy Martin. I don't know. He popped up in my feed, and he was giving studying tips to like other future doctors. And if you think about study tips, like, how do we study best? Like, so if we're studying something, we're trying to learn something and really internalize it. Well, from a doctor standpoint, I really hope that they internalize it. So some of the 3 things that he said, right, or you have to eat well, you have to get sleep. Actually, sleep was like the number one thing, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Girls, you guys often need more sleep. So 7 to 9. Eating well. And then he, consistency effectively was number 3. He said it differently, but those 3 things, we can do those 3 things in 6 days. But he also, that consistency also had a system. It was like systematic consistency, actually. He didn't say that in that word, but that's what I call it, because it was a systemized approach to being consistent studying the material. So if you have a systemized approach that you can implement consistently in your marketing, in your work, in how you run the business, and even if it's like, Saturday night through Sunday morning, and then you clock back in, but I would do something that way, because your brain just stops working if you're like overworking yourself. So plus like adrenal fatigue and stuff like that if you're not supporting your body overall. That is not what you asked, Cameron, but yeah, I would listen to that, Cameron. I would listen to that, because it's not going to do like we have a marketing problem, Cameron. So we either have a marketing problem or we still have a quoting problem. And I think for you, based on like having talked to you on the podcast a couple of times, I think it's a combination of both. Like, we're not getting enough leads in. And then when we do get the leads in, I think we're not, I think there's something off in the quoting for you. But with that, I think there's additional pressure because you haven't met that goal to quote higher. But we also don't want to go to the other side and quote low just to get like a bunch of clients. So, I forget how many clients you have. Can you tell me where your last client came from? Because I have seen bookkeepers who show up to our podcast, other people's podcasts, other people's lives, and they and they cycle through where they like, I remember one who he got stuck for years, like years without clients. Okay, so did they come from Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups? Did they just like, how did you guys connect?
So it was from Facebook, and I commented on their stuff a couple of times. And I guess that made me show face, and she saw my content, and I already pitched that person for services, and then they said, not really, I don't really need that right now. And then they just randomly hit me up saying like, I need this.
Yeah. So we need more in your pipeline because she effectively entered your pipeline through what you were doing with content and messaging. What about LinkedIn? Or is that
Link,
what?
yeah. So that this was I was doing like a lot of cross posting. So like whatever I put up, Facebook was always been my initial main platform, and then LinkedIn was kind of like an extra thing, but it was like really taxing because I was doing too much. So like I was trying to send a million things on connections on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. So that's why I kind of just focused more on Facebook, and then we'll go on LinkedIn from time to time. But this was in the beginning of the year where I put out a couple of things, and I same thing. I posted some comments on this person's posts, and they're the ones that reach out to me. So I actually didn't even pitch them for services at all. So they just said, do you work with construction? And I'm like, it's my at the time it was one of my main niches, and that's how we connected. I haven't got anyone from LinkedIn since.
Um, that's fair. LinkedIn, it either works or it doesn't for you. But I think that's the same with Facebook or Alignable or Upwork or wherever you're looking to find the work. Were you on
No, I couldn't make it.
last week before or something? I was talking about. Oh, actually, Abel, we might have talked about this on the Tuesday night call not this past Tuesday, the week before. Um, the importance of like if you're on Facebook or if you're doing some sort of content, um, figuring out, we might have brought this up on the podcast too, but like figuring out how to leverage it a little bit better to get into other people's audiences. And that's not just like Facebook audiences or Facebook friends. It's, can we pay to be in a Facebook group where and I'm not talking like women helping women type, what is that? There is a Facebook group that has like 50,000, no, it has way more than that in it. That's for women, and you can like pay $100 a month to do like shout outs or go live in this group. I'm not actually talking about something like that. I'm talking about like to a community. So like if someone has grown like a coaching community, for instance, like CB4S or like Cameron Montgomery's with Apex Methods, um, right? We're already serving a paying audience. So in the construction or in the real estate field, so think about like Bigger Pockets as an example. I think they have some sort of paid subscription, right? If we were to pay to be in a community, I don't remember what Bigger Pockets had. So just humor my like fake example here now.
I'm in bigger
Um,
pockets, but yeah,
did you say you know about Bigger Pockets or don't?
I'm in it. Like I'm not doing the paid
Okay.
service because I've another person that is way beyond me did that and was like, don't worry about it. Don't even bother. It's just not worth it. But it is a good community to just to be on the forums and answer, some basic questions that it's within my expertise.
Yep.
But a lot of it is like out of my realm. So it's like tax stuff or, stuff that I just don't feel comfortable answering. But if it's like a basic thing, like about, should I be commingling or not commingling? I'm just exaggerating, but I would be answering those type of questions, letting them know like this as a bookkeeping business owner that works with real estate investors. I would advise against, so on and so forth. I add value. But yeah, I try to go on there at least once a day.
So, so we're looking to find something maybe smaller than that, but something we could tap into from like a being on their podcast, being in their community as like an expert, where they're like bringing you along too, right, in their community. So like we host Cameron Montgomery in our group on occasion. There's another person um, neither of them pay us to be like in the community, but we value their expertise, and so like we will tag them as like the go-to person. Like that's actually a question for the CPA in the group or for Cameron. But can we start like utilizing other people's podcast or email list better. So like we're going to send an email to our list for them, vice versa. Like we're going to do some sort of tag team thing. You see this a lot with on YouTube. So like this video is done in combination with like whoever they're doing part two. I'm doing part one. So like you want to do this, you want this outcome. This is what it looks like from the bookkeeping standpoint. Here's this tax specialist that we're cross pollinating our expertise on because they don't do bookkeeping. You don't do taxes. We're going to send an email to each other, basically to each other's email audience, or we're going to send an email to our audience shouting out them. Hey, we just did this podcast together. And so these forms of collaborations are likely going to have more leverage than you just commenting in the bigger pockets forum. I do think still do that, still comment on Facebook, but we need to find those groups that actually have like ROI to them. Because some of you guys are just posting, you're just selecting all the groups and letting it post to these groups on Facebook. But like, can we think about leverage? What admins can I cross pollinate expertise? If I can give something to them, can we work together? Is there a mutually beneficial relationship in this? Now, that is not how we just build every relationship. Not everything has to be mutual. But if you want to grow the business, we need to like pay attention to not just pulling others alongside us thinking we're like collaborating, but who can like lift us up too, if that makes sense. But I think we need a better system for your marketing, or you're not going to keep moving. Like either we need a Facebook group to like start consistently sending us leads, or we need a networking group, or we need some sort of leverage. Or we're too tied to our niche and we need to put down the niche for a little bit. And I have said this, and I say this in the Bookkeeper Blueprint, until you're at 6 figures annually, gross, don't niche.
So yeah, Cameron says the opposite. Like he says niche. Otherwise, you're speaking to nobody. So that's why I doubled down on that, because a lot of marketing people were saying to do that. So like if I drop that now and go general, like what? Yeah, I don't know. Like how would that work?
Well, I mean, the same rules apply. So the reason Cameron says that is it's easier to for you guys to understand the problem solution, who you're talking to. You still have to understand who you're talking to and what problems they have. So that doesn't go away. But there might be something with how you've niched that's keeping you from getting clients. So like somehow it's like done the opposite for you right now, is how it sounds like when I talk to you on the podcast here. Does that make sense? Or maybe it's not. You can say no, it's not. It's helping me.
Um, it's helped me a bit have a bit more confidence, kind of, because like I would like I've been on one podcast before. It just wasn't, it wasn't a steady thing. I kind of wished it was, but I was extremely nervous, obviously, because it's my first time, and I am not the best, public speaker. So that's something I need to work on. I'm afraid I'm gonna get into one of these podcasts and I'm just gonna like ramble on about nonsense that I don't even know what I'm talking about. So it's something I need to for sure work on. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think Nishan has helped me because it's just put more direction instead of me just like, because in the beginning I was everywhere. Like I was just talking about, just keep receipts, like nonsense that nobody cares about. You know what I mean? So I'm putting it more on like ROI, NOI work and like leverage, using words that real estate investors use from time to time. But it's just, I don't know, maybe I'm just people that are there are not making enough money to need a bookkeeper. I don't know. I mean, I'm sending DMs. I usually just don't get any answer. The DMs are probably trash and they need to be worked on. And and I've tried to like make it personal, like personalize it. It's really taxing, you know, like to personalize every single DM, and then you need to send like 100 or whatever. It seems unsustainable, and it has been. You know, it's yeah. I'm making
Yeah.
excuses, and I don't mean to do that.
Yeah. Are you still working with Cameron Montgomery?
No, so I mean, I had a couple of calls with him. You know, just what I needed to pay just wasn't within my realm. Um, so yeah, I just from time to time I'll speak to him, and you know, like whenever he has like those, he joins your podcast, or if he has any other like podcast where he brings on a guest, I usually will attend just to get more information and more insight. But I'm not working with him now.
Okay. Um, Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't use DMs as my growth method. So I know that I'm like limited on how to DM per se. I know Megan has done it a little bit, but not true, not true cold DMing like you're doing. And then after that, like I would be evaluating like the follow-up sequence. Chelsea, I know you've met with her. Have you talked to Chelsea about marketing in our like
Yeah. Hmm.
you
Yeah,
good?
she's the one that told me to like do like icebreaker, and I was she said I was taking too long in between connection and friend requests. So like I was generally waiting 30 days. So I was trying to like build a relationship, build a rapport, and not be like that guy that just sends a DM, you know, right after request. But she says I try to limit it to like a week and start with like saying, hi, how are you? Yeah, I see that you're within this so and so niche. I tried that. I got negative, more negative than, I mean, maybe the sample size was not large enough, but I hated it. I didn't like talking, like doing like little small talk, like about the weather, like, because honestly, I don't care like about that. You know, I kind of want to just get into it. And, you know, Cameron kind of said the same thing is like people will not really be as receptive to like small talk because it doesn't mean anything to them. So that's why I don't know. It just didn't work for me,
Yeah,
and I didn't like doing it either. So I kind of didn't stop doing it.
yeah. Yeah, you might have to branch out. And when I say podcast, I don't mean you have to get on the podcast. You can simply sponsor the podcast
What do you mean?
and give them the ad to
Oh, okay, okay.
like you can just simply be the sponsor. Now that costs money. It
Mm,
is free to go be a guest and give them content, help them create content, right?
okay.
Um, and that's a good way to go. I'm gonna do this. Are you gonna be on the podcast? Are you gonna be here next week?
I'm gonna be in Puerto Rico, but I should be able to.
Okay. If you log in,
Hmm.
go make a list of 100. And I say 100 for a reason, but like, because this will help tell us if there's enough in your niche,
Hmm.
like of content potential. 100 podcasts and YouTubers that speak to people in your niche.
Okay.
If you start, if you can't find enough, like if you can't get to 100, then branch out to you have my permission after you like get to like 50 to add. No, I would like you to get to like 75. um Podcasts, YouTube, like something audio,
Hmm.
if not also video. If video audio would be great. So podcast, YouTube channel would be great. You can then go to like paid community groups. You can start listing them out. Newsletters, maybe radio shows. What what is the information your people are collecting? Like, is there like a popular newsletter that everyone subscribes to and pays $20 a month to be a part of? And you can list out like bigger pockets to smaller ones. that's fine. But I would love to see that list, or at least like know that you have it. I don't necessarily need to see it, but I think that might help you transition to like, because you need to go deeper into your niche somehow, as far as understanding who and what they are. There's some disconnect between like who you're speaking to and what they need.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense. Okay. All right, guys, as we wrap up here today, if you have questions like Cameron, just let us talk through. We do coaching calls that dive in like deeper to Cameron's question. If you need one of those, feel free. I'm going to grab the link for you to like copy this link real quick. They are pretty affordable in terms of like getting the answer you need. And actually, and you can use this for anything in your business. So whether that's actual bookkeeping help, like how do I click this button? How do I do this for a client? If it's strategizing around pricing, if you're trying to add services to your bookkeeping business, those calls can help with that. So everything from marketing to like trying to figure out how do I take this vacation? We cover all of those things. Everything we talked about today, you can get on a call with us for. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can either comment below the live, or you can send me or Megan or the page a message, and we'll get back to you. We always love to talk to you guys if we can help. Megan and I grew our own businesses for different reasons over time. Like ultimately, our bookkeeping businesses are a very stable income. That is our income. It's my income, and I am very thankful for it. So we're going to get Cameron unstuck. And because that's not okay, Cameron. I don't want you to come up on a year, especially when like you don't have to, going into like right now it's August 14th through December. I cannot tell you how many bookkeepers grow their business from 0 to stable. And stable can be a little different. I'm not going to say 10,000, but 0 to 3, 0 to 5. I've seen 0 to like 6 right now. So Cameron, now like let's get this solved for you. But I will see you guys next week. If you have questions in the meantime, the coaching calls are a great way to get those answered. If you have questions about the coaching calls, or wondering if your question needs one, feel free to message us and we will help you get you what you need. Okay, I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.